Hey everybody, Brian and Leslie Fatherees here with the Unbreakable podcast. It's the end of June. We're celebrating marriage and love and everything that has to go with that.
Yep.
So welcome back for the final episode of the month. We're glad you're here checking these things out, either on the podcast where you get them at, wherever it's at. We're based out of podpoint.com. But you can get us anywhere. You can get us at iHeart. You can get us, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yes.
You can come here, the Unbreakable podcast. Also, for those of you that are watching the videos of our podcast on YouTube, welcome. Glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us at youtube.com/the Unbreakable Family, and you can have that conversation. Please, for those of you both in podcast land and in YouTube land, if you'll like, share, and subscribe, that would be
awesome.
Fantastic. We would love to
awesome.
hear from you. Please make comments. You got questions, you can comment in the stream, or you can email us at fathereefamilyministries@gmail.com.
Yep.
If you want to know more about us personally and about our vision and our life and what God's telling us to do, we actually have a website.
Yeah.
Woo woo!
Yay!
It's called the Unbreakablefamily.com. Got a theme in here, right? The Unbreakable. So it's the Unbreakablefamily.com, and you'll find content about our life and what God's calling us to do.
Yep.
You'll also find our coaching that we're doing, marriage and family coaching on there. Some information about that. And if you want more, please, they'll tell you how to get that information from us. Also, the merchandise that we have in our store, we got a couple things that you can get from us. We got Leslie's book, the Family Manual, a practical guide to raising a Christian family, and I think that belongs in every Christian household. It's a book that will lead you from every phase of life, from getting engaged all the way to grandparenting, on how to live and promote and model a Christian life so that your family will stay in the faith.
I share a whole lot about our family and how we did things and how we still do things. And so there's lots of personal stories and practical help in the book. And I poured my heart into it, and the Holy Spirit's put His anointing on it, we hope, and are praying. And so we think you all should read it. It'd be really good.
Yeah, if you want actual really practical advice, it's like having her talk to you personally in the stage of life that you're at. So you got toddlers, you got teenagers, you got young adults, you got a child that's getting married. It's her talking to you about how to walk through that process and how she walked through that process, and she gives very practical advice on how to do that. Our theme for us is that we teach couples and families practical application to biblical truths to help their family be strong and stay unbreakable. So it kind of plays through in the book as well. So that's our plug for that. Go to unbreakablefamily.com. You can get the book there. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it at Borders. You can get it anywhere.
But we really think you should have one.
We really do, and not because we're egotistical about it, but because God mandated to us to write the book, and if He mandated it, then there's a reason behind it, and the reason is to help people. And so, we're going to make a couple dollars off the book, but that's really not the main thing. The main thing is to get help in your hands. So we just want to encourage you to do that. All right. That's all that said. We are going to talk today about what we celebrate and why we celebrate marriage and family. Right?
Yes.
So I'm going to let my wife do that because, I don't celebrate anything. I'm joking.
It's not true.
It's not true. We celebrate everything. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Well, we just wanted to wrap up the month talking about marriage by celebrating marriage. We want to bring out a few of the things that we find that we definitely celebrate in our marriage, and then we'll see where else it goes from there.
Sure.
But one of my favorite parts of marriage is that I have a lifelong friendship with this guy. He is funny and witty and smart and wise, and he's got great things to share. He's anointed, he's called, he's all the things that I just love. And he's my best friend. And I'm very, very privileged to be able to spend my life, with his life. I love that we are friends.
Yeah.
I celebrate that we are friends. That just makes my heart rejoice.
Yeah.
And I think he likes me too. So
I do. and to refer back to last week's podcast, we talked about guarding your marriage from divorce. Friendship will help that.
Yeah.
And Leslie is my best friend. I got other friends, but she's my very best friend. No one knows me like she knows me. No one cares for me like she cares for me. No one supports me like she supports me. I've had friends come and go. I've got some friends that are still there. That and my dad, when I was a kid, I remember in high school, I had hundreds of friends. Didn't we all? And I had hundreds of friends. And my dad said, when you get older, if you have a handful of friends, you have literally a handful of friends, you will be a blessed man. And I'm like, you're nuts, because I got hundreds of friends. What are you talking about? And out of all of those friends, those hundreds of friends in high school, I probably have a lot of acquaintances still from there. I still have a lot of people that are friendly, but actual friends, that we interact and our lives interconnect, probably 2 to 3 from high school, and the same from college. And so
that's your handful.
I got my handful,
Plus
maybe one or two more, but not any of them have been as true a friend as Leslie has to me. And so lifelong friendship is definitely a huge reason to celebrate marriage. And to go along with that is companionship, because no one likes to go through life alone.
Right.
They just don't. I remember before we got married, I was lonely. I was very lonely. Matter of fact, I was having a pity party one night. I'll never forget this. I was having a pity party one night about, God, I go out and talk to people, and I help them, and I love them, and no one comes to me. And I just was having a pity party. And then I got a phone call from my best friend at the time. And he's like, what you doing? And me wallowing in my pity party, like, I'm fine, I'm good. He's like, get your butt up and come out here and see us. And so I go out there, and that's where God began to penetrate my heart and work some things through. And so then, I was like, Lord, I'm just lonely. I really want a spouse. And God gave me several words of encouragement through different venues and people that my spouse was on the way, and it's going to be okay. And one of the single best days of my life was the day that I married this girl sitting next to me. And I could still in my mind see her walking across the back of the church. Everybody stood up, and I couldn't actually see her, but she had this big, huge veil thing on. I could see the top of the veil bopping behind people until she gets to the center aisle. Then I get to see the beauty that she is. And I'm like, yes, we've done good today, Jesus. And so it's a great day. So companionship's a huge deal, because no one wants to be alone.
I don't think we spend our days dreaming when we're young that we're going to live alone all of our life. I didn't anyway. I dreamt of having somebody with me, and so I celebrate the fact that we are companions together. We are not alone. We are together. And that kind of goes with friendship, but I think it's a little deeper even.
It is a little bit.
A little deeper.
And I think
not be alone.
Even introverts, they don't want to be alone.
No.
They just don't want to be with the crowd.
Right.
But they don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
We've got one child that is an introvert, a big-time introvert. Yeah. But that child is ready to get married and to have a family and do those things.
And to not be alone.
They don't want to be alone. They're ready for the companionship. Yeah. So even those of you that are introverts, we're not talking about like a party every day. We're just talking about companionship. Yeah. Someone walk side by side with you, talk with you, pray with you, hang out with you, learn what you like, and you learn what they like. I mean, I'm a sports guy. Leslie is not a sports person.
When we got married, I wasn't a sports person
at all. But now she likes some football because of me, and she likes my Cubs because of me. And she actually can tell you who some of the players are and what they're doing, and she's talking to them. And
I know the rules now, at least.
She knows the rules, and when they're playing, she's talking to them. The umpire makes a bad call, she's helping me yell at them, though she laughs more at me than she actually yells at them. It's really, it's companionship.
It is.
When she goes shopping, I go with her. I was not really a shopper when we got married. I didn't mind it, but I'm a guy, so I'm like, go in, get it, and move on. She's a gal, so she wants to go in, meander, look for all the best deals, walk through the whole store,
or the whole mall,
all of it,
yeah.
and then go back
to what I originally looked
to
at.
the original thing she looked at and buy it. When I said, it's a good deal, just go ahead and buy that. Well, we'll see. Let me look some more. So we spent 3 hours looking and come back to the first thing.
But
That's
it
not
was
how
3
guys.
hours together.
It was, and that part's good. But what I'm saying is, you learn and you adapt in companionship with each other.
Yep.
And so, because if it was just me going, I'd go in, find the thing, and get out of Dodge and go back. But that's not how that works. So I had to learn to do that.
Right.
Our hot date every week usually is grocery day. We go buy groceries and have lunch together. Woo!
Woo! That's exciting.
We are just sizzling.
We actually did find, probably farther into our marriage, we found out that we both really enjoy antiquing.
Yes.
And so we do that together, and that's something that we can enjoy with one another, spend time together.
Yeah.
I mean, it meets all the qualifications, so it works for us.
Because she really didn't grow up antiquing, but she likes antiques. I grew up. My grandparents on my mom's side had a running antique garage sale, rummage sale, all the time, out of their garage. And then I went with my grandfather to estate sales and went to antique stores. We went and bought, then we went and sold things with the farm markets. So I grew up, and I love that. So we might be boring, but we are companions.
Yep.
In
we're
that
doing
process.
It together.
We're doing it together. So we're not alone in regards to that. So
Right.
companionship and lifelong friendship are two of the major reasons that we celebrate marriage today.
Right. And you know what? That filters down into our family.
Yes.
Our children have learned to be friends and companions to one another first, and then they will do the same with their spouses because they've watched us and how we've done it. So we celebrate all the way through our family.
Yeah, and it's actually created a legacy and a heritage because my oldest son, when he goes shopping for birthdays and Christmas, his first place to go shopping at is an antique mall.
Yeah.
He goes to antique
for
stores
everybody,
first.
not just for us.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And he finds some of the coolest things and some of the most thoughtful gifts.
Yeah.
And because they don't make a whole lot that's really cool and thoughtful anymore. And so he goes and finds stuff, and it's pretty, and it's personal, and it's intimate, and it's enjoyable, and it's kind of fun to watch what he comes up with. So that's something that they got from us in the process. And if we hadn't celebrated that part of our life, he would have never got that part of his life.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah. The next thing that we celebrate is sounding board. If you ever had to make a decision and you have no one to bounce off the pros and cons with, to pray with over the decision, and so every decision that we make, we talk about it, we pray about it, and Leslie's a sounding board for me. Doesn't mean we make the right decision every time,
right?
Because we can still make wrong decisions.
Sure.
I can point to several in my life that were really wrong, and even though I used Leslie as a sounding board, she gave me reasons not to do it and did it anyway because I'm a guy and we just do those kind of things. And I saw that raised eyebrow. And so, and so anyway, but we need those sounding boards to decide, on a job opportunity or a business opportunity or how do I handle this situation with this person? How do I handle this circumstance? How do I use the finances that God's given us in the best possible way? Right. It's a sounding board for decisions, so we make better decisions together than we've ever made apart.
Right. Yes. Life is full of struggles. There's just always a struggle with something. Yeah. In some area of life. It doesn't matter if it's health or finances or kids or friends or whatever it is. There's always a struggle, but being able to go through it together and talking about it together and then praying over it together makes it so much, maybe not easier, but it makes it so much more, you feel supported. You feel like, okay, I'm not in this alone. Again, we're back to the aloneness, but it's good for decisions to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 together, and then bringing God into it. 3 to make it a better decision than if we were just alone. And so,
no, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Then the next thing that we have on our list is trust and faithfulness. So you put that one on the list.
You want me to start it?
I want you to start it.
Okay.
And I'll jump in.
Okay, so I think that we celebrate marriage because it's a place where we trust. We have someone we can trust in. I put my full trust in Brian. Brian puts his full trust in me.
Yeah.
I don't hide things from him. He doesn't hide things from me.
Even when I want to.
Yeah. And I'm there. I'm not going to say that there aren't times where we use wisdom about the timing of when we share something, because sometimes it's really a bad day for sharing anything, or sometimes it's, just not the right place, or but we're not going to hold it back,
right,
and keep things from each other. We trust one another. It's a place of mutual trust.
Yeah.
Our marriage is a place where we can depend on the other one. We're faithful towards each other. And so faithfulness is another thing we celebrate in our marriage. We trust each other with our thoughts. We trust each other with our feelings. We trust each other with our physical person. I trust him. If we go anywhere, I trust him that he's going to protect me. He's going to watch over me. And I'm not afraid. I know that we lean on God, but God has given me a spouse that I trust in, so that I am able to be secure in my life. I feel secure when I'm with my husband. When he's gone for a week or something, which has not happened very often in our marriage, but every once in a while, something comes up and he has to be gone, I don't like it, because I know that I know that we're okay, but I know that he's not there being my faithful standby, and he's not right next to me, and I miss that when that happens. So I think that it's great that we have a mutual trust in one another, knowing that the other one is going to always stand up for us, always going to support us, always going to be there, helping and throwing in their 2 cents worth for whatever situation. And I think trust and faithfulness is a great thing to celebrate in marriage.
It is. And let me say this. When you have someone you can trust, and it's a mutual trust, like we have, that actually creates a byproduct of faithfulness.
Yes.
Because if I don't trust Leslie, and she didn't trust me, it'd be far easier to not be faithful because of the lack of trust.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Right. Faithfulness creates trust. So if I wasn't being faithful, if she thought I was out messing around, doing things I shouldn't be doing, or I wasn't available for her when she needed me, if I wasn't consistent in my relationship with her, then that would hurt the trust. So faithfulness builds trust, and trust builds faithfulness. They kind of really go hand in hand and work together. There's something there in both of those that help you do that. And we talked last week about guarding your marriage. This is one of the ways you can guard your marriage, is by making sure you're faithful to your spouse, faithful to your vows to stay married, faithful physically, faithful emotionally, faithful spiritually. And I'll say this, there's times it's an ebb and flow as far as faithfulness goes and those things, because there's times where she's been stronger spiritually or emotionally than I was in that moment, and vice versa. There are times where I've been the stronger one. And so what we don't want is both be weak at the same moment.
Right, exactly.
But we build each other back up. We help each other out, and that builds more trust, and it creates more faithfulness. So it doesn't mean everything's always perfect, because there's an ebb and flow to life. Like you said a little bit ago on this podcast, that life is full of challenges. Life is full of things and struggles that come your way. If someone's telling you otherwise, that it's all rainbows and puppy dogs and kitties, they're lying to you, because there are challenges. I don't care how good your life is. I don't care if everything has gone your way. Even in the process of quote unquote everything going your way, you've had to overcome struggles and challenges, whatever they may be. It might be a health issue, it might be a financial issue, it could be a relational issue, it could be a family issue, it could be just a horde of things that's out there that you have to overcome and get past the struggle, get past the conflict, do all those kinds of things. And when you have someone that's your lifelong friend, that's your companion, that's your sounding board, that you can trust, and they've been faithful to you, that just moves that needle way over here and helps you get through life in spite of the challenges.
I think along with the trust and the faithfulness, you hit on the truthfulness. And so I celebrate in our marriage the fact that we are able to be truthful with one another. We don't lie to one another. We don't hide things and keep things back from one another, but we are truthful. We share with one another openly. And that is a wonderful gift, something to celebrate, because there are so many people in this life you cannot trust. You cannot trust them with information. You can't trust them with your life. You can't trust them with anything, because number one, they'll lie about it. Number two, they'll just stab you in the back with it. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff like that happens. But in a marriage that's a truthful, trust-filled, faithful marriage, all those three things work together to keep you
absolutely
unified. And if you have a situation where one of you has broken trust, faithfulness, or truthfulness, then the best way to build that back up is to use the other two things to build that back into your marriage. Whenever you fall, and we're not perfect, humans always have places where they mess up. And so whenever you fall, whatever happens, then use those other two key things to bring it back around and work together to make that happen.
And I'll throw in forgiveness in the middle of that too.
Yes.
Because you have to learn, and part of trust and faithfulness is forgiving one another. Excuse me. Because if she does something that I find, that bothers me or offends me or hurts me, then I'm going to have that conversation, because it breaks the trust, it breaks the faithfulness, and vice versa.
Right.
And we have to be quick to ask for forgiveness and quick to give forgiveness.
Yes, and then lay down the offense. Don't carry it around with you.
Can't hold on to it. And ladies, you're worse about that than us guys. Us guys kind of fight in the moment and we're done. You ladies, as the comedian says, you bring video files and you bring MP3 files and you got documentation and everything.
You gotta let it go.
From 30 years ago. Burn that stuff. And move forward in the moment.
It says in Corinthians that love makes no record of wrongs. And so you have to let it go. You have to let it go. But the celebration point is that we can let it go. And we can have trust, faithfulness, truthfulness, and forgiveness in our marriage.
And the reason you can ask for forgiveness and you can give forgiveness is because the breaking of the trust, faithfulness, and truthfulness is an aberration. It's not a normal everyday thing.
Right.
And because there are people out there, and we've seen them, and we know some, that, I've got a particular person in my mind that when they open their mouths, you better watch it, because they're probably not telling the truth. And they're good at speaking, they're just not telling the truth. And so you have to, those things play in. And the reason we can do the forgiveness part is because those other three are a normal, good thing.
Right.
So the bad thing is an aberration.
Right.
And so you need to work hard on that. And it goes back to being diligent to guard your heart, to guard your marriage, and to guard your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good? Anything else on that?
No, not on that one.
All right.
The last thing that we wanted to bring up was purpose and callings. We celebrate our marriage because our marriage is full of God's purpose and His callings in our life. Now, I know a lot of people will look at us and they'll say, well, you're a ministry family, you're a pastor, that works for you. Well, God's callings come in all different forms, and He needs people in all different areas, and He has purpose for every family that He puts together. He is not only giving purpose and calling to fivefold ministry people. But there's a ministry in someone who is a mechanic. There's a ministry in someone who is a nurse. There's a ministry in someone who is working, driving a truck all over the nation. And whatever you do, wherever you're doing it, you have a purpose and you have a calling. We believe that a family has a purpose and a calling. And so there's something that God has for your family to be involved in, to be doing for His kingdom, to be, He's calling you to act, to activate in His kingdom.
I'll give you a couple quick examples. We know of, I have a couple. They don't have any children at this point. I'm sure they will in the future, but at this point they have no children. But their purpose and their calling is actually to create wealth. And they have created a large amount of wealth for themselves personally, but they take that wealth and teach others to do the same thing. And that's their calling. That's their purpose. They actually have helped hundreds and hundreds of people get out of debt, to get to a place of financial security and
Right.
actually financial abundance. And I celebrate that with them. That's one example. And I have another example that is more ministry related, and it's a couple that we know, and they are missionary by purpose and calling, and their whole family is. And so they actually have set up an international missions field that they take people from all over America to go with them, and they see when they go into a country, they do multiple trips a year, take multiple people with them into the countries, and they do these really cool things, and they leave that country and they'll see thousands, if not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people come to faith through what they're doing. Their family works together to go do that. And they actually reach out and find other families who are of like mind and like purpose and like calling who go with them. They take whole families. They don't just take pastors and preachers. They take a lot of people. I say 90% of the people that go on these trips are not called to quote unquote ministry. They're not called to be a pastor, teacher, prophet, evangelist. They just go because they have a heart for people who don't know God. And so they go with them, and they do miraculous things in regards to that. So
I think the whole overall thing is that God has given all of us talents. He's given us all giftings. He has put inside of all of us something that he wants us to use to bless other people. And so even if your employment is in two different areas, maybe if you're, you work two totally different jobs, that doesn't mean that there isn't a purpose and a calling for you. And so sometimes it is adjoined to your employment. If you're a mechanic, maybe you together have a ministry to help widows or to help single moms or whatever, and you fix their vehicles, and you're mechanical enough that you fix their appliances, or but you go in, you help, and you bless people because you've got a calling to help someone. But God uses all the things in your life to make that happen. For us, ministry is our purpose and our calling. We are called to speak into families' lives. We are called to pastor. And even now, with what we're doing here, we're pastoring in the sense of we are shepherding sheep, God's sheep, leading them in the way they should go, helping them understand, teaching and training and doing all those things. That's what we're called to do. And so we celebrate in our marriage the fact that we are able to have purposes and callings that we are fulfilling together and enjoying together. And then we even include our family. And so it's a whole family celebration.
And if you're listening to this, either on the podcast or on the YouTube video, and you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'd like to know what mine is. I have no clue what that is. Well, we actually have developed a 12-week program, and it's a family and life coaching program that we market and we sell, and it's $200 per session, so $200 a week. If you sign up and do the whole 12 weeks, pay for it, we give you 2 weeks for free, because we're more concerned about getting to you the information than we are just the money. But in that, we show you the 5 original intent commandments that God gave for marriage and family, and what they are supposed to be doing. We work through that, and then what we do is we customize it. We talk about that first for the first few weeks. Then after that, we start working with you and finding out what it is that God has put in you. That God has put in you as individuals, as a couple, and then as a family. So you can find your purpose and your calling together, and we help you do that. And then at the end of that 12 weeks, then you're going to have a pretty good grip on, even like she said, even if you both work different jobs, different industries, you're going to have a pretty good grip on what you're supposed to be doing to help the kingdom of God. And we're all supposed to. If you're a Christian, listen to this, we're all supposed to be building God's kingdom somehow, some way. Maybe you'll find through the process that your giftings and purpose is hospitality. So now maybe you're like, well, you got a nice home, so you open it up when guest speakers come in. Instead of the church having to pay for a hotel and rooms, you can accommodate them and do that. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe you can help finance someone to go on that mission trip. Maybe there's a lot of different ways that you can. Maybe you're supposed to go on the mission trip together.
Maybe you're all about Special Olympics and you want to go and pray over and help people with disabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen all of this.
Yeah.
And so, but we've set this up to help you find out what God's purpose and His calling is for you as an individual, as a couple, and as a family. We already know what His original intent is, so we can share that with you pretty explicitly and pretty directly.
Right.
But then we take those 5 things and we apply it to your life so that you know how to apply it to your life and can be more effective with that. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
And celebrate your marriage and your family.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're worth celebrating. And again, if you don't know for sure where it's at, you can get a hold of us either through our website, theunbreakablefamily.com. You can email us at fathereesfamilyministries@gmail.com. And we'll be glad to set up a time to have that conversation without you even committing to the program, and give you more details on how to do that and help you get started. With that said, we love you, we're praying for you, and we look forward to talking to you on the very next podcast. For now, we'll see you later.